On today's episode of Things Green, Nick shows how grass can be greener by simply spraying it with green dye. Nick then introduces us to floating herbs, a nifty way to grow our own herbs. Nick then talks about the roots of our plants as well as answering questions. All this and more on today's Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Super Thrive, the original vitamin solution. 50 vitamins and nutrients. Vitamins for trees, plants, and lawns. More information at superthrive.com.
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
With continued support from Cole Tomato Cages, planting, growing, and harvesting. More information at colemetals.com. And by the Radisson Hotel Whittier, with newly renovated rooms and an on-site bistro restaurant. More information at radisson.com. And by the State Farm Youth Advisory Board, supporting school-based, youth-led service learning projects.
Lemon tree very pretty and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Hey, I got a question for you. What do you call a cow that helps a gardener? A lawn mower. Okay. Hey, we've got ourselves a lawn right here, and as we could tell, there's portions of it that's just not doing well. Maybe it's because you had a dog come by and leave some lawn sausage, or maybe you've forgot to water the area, or whatever the case may be. You have these particular situations that show up, and they need to be dealt with. Well, some lawns can and will repair themselves, or let's just say that you're in the middle of a drought, but you want to keep your lawn, but you still want to keep it kind of on the green side. Well, there's something that we can do that will actually work, and that would be painting our lawn, of course. Why wouldn't we want to do that? Now, this painting thing always surprises me when I bring it up in conversation, because people seem to think that, oh my, he's going to be painting the lawn. Oh, what's going to go on there? Look at how many of you watch football, baseball, soccer, any sports field that you see lines painted on there. You don't see people getting weirded out about that. There's all kinds of different colors. There's red, white, blue, green. Hey, green, who would have ever thought? All right, you can actually put these paints on your lawn. Now, the neat thing about it is that they don't last very long. Well, I take that back. They last as long as the grass is growing, then it'll end up being cut off. So if you have an actively growing grass, when you mow it, you cut it off. But a lot of people end up doing this kind of stuff when winter comes along as well. Or like I mentioned, the drought, and you've got yourself some pretty parched looking lawn, or once again, if you have some kind of damage and you want to fix it real quick. Now, got to remember, this is paint. It's kind of like a dye more than it is an actual paint itself. And you get to mix it up yourself. There are companies that you can hire that can do this for you. They'll get a super uniform look. And what's really interesting about it is that not only will you get that uniform look, you could decide how green you want to get the lawn. Do you want it super, super dark, dark green? Do you want it a light green? It all depends on the palette that you want to create based on what is happening in your lawn already. Maybe 3/4 of it is just super tight-knit green, and the rest is just a really super light green because, I don't know, maybe trees that are coming down and giving it a bunch of shade and just not greening up for you. There's all kinds of neat things to kind of look for. All right, what do we do? Well, first off, we want to take and we want to mow our lawn. Maybe you want to get that cow on the lawn because you'll be able to fertilize it at the same time, right? But you want to mow your lawn to about 1.25 inches high. Okay, once it's nice and it's mowed, you want to take that little rake activity there, just like I was doing. If you want to put a little song to it, like I was talking about, go ahead and you could do that. And then if you want to put a little hip action into it all, you can lose a little weight at the same time. But you might as well keep this in your hand at the same as well, because as you're doing it, you're going to want to take your lawn dye and you're going to want to take and mix it up. And you really have to mix it up really good. The instructions actually say that what you have to do is to take and shake it up for 10 minutes. It's really a long time. And it's going to get kind of frothy. So kind of be aware of that. So we take it, we mix it, blah, blah, blah. Now the amount of water that you put on here again, or mix it with, all depends on how dark you want to do it. Sometimes it's a 1-to-1 mix for super, super dark green. Sometimes it's a 1-to-16, 18, 20 mix. In other words, 1 part of this to 16, 18, 20 parts of water. Now, the mode of transportation on this is not with a hose and sprayer. You can't do that. You have to use an actual sprayer of some sort. Now, the sprayer that we're choosing to use over here is this little itty bitty one right here. And we have a little bit in there right now, a little mix. And we're going to do this. We're going to see if I can do this without it blowing up on me. Okay, so let's bring this down here because it's a little on the messy side. All right, going to bring this down to the ground here. Oh, by the way, do not use old new clothes with this. You want to use old clothes all the way. And then we're going to take and let's put some inside here like this. Glug, glug. Can you hear the glugging? Oh, I sure do. Don't fill it up too much because we want room for our sprayer gizmos here. So we're going to put this inside. Make sure there's no grass on here. And by the way, lawns have been in existence since the 15 and 1600s. It's the first time that it was ever noticed in writing. The first lawnmower were goats and sheep. In fact, even the White House had goats and sheep there. And it was a pretty good relationship between it because the goats would come and the sheep, and they would mow the lawn, literally cut it down, and then they would leave a byproduct behind that would fertilize the lawn at the same time. Since then, they have lawnmowers, but there's still plenty of fertilizer over there. Okay, here what we're going to do. We're going to take and we're going to spray this. And let's see if you can notice the difference. Can you see the difference? Oh, look at this. See how it's greening up? So try to make it as even as possible. Now, I'm starting to lose a little zipperoonie here in my stuff. So I got a little bit closer. You want to take and you want to spray this at around 12 to 18 inches away. If you had a regular hand pump sprayer, that's probably a lot easier too. But look how it's just greening this up here. Is it an artificial green? Yeah, it's an artificial green. If this was straw, it's going to look like green straw. But still. Okay, can you see the difference there? Isn't that something? You can make it and you can make it darker if you want. You can come back again. Just whatever you do, do not step on this and then go walking into the house right away. You're going to get it all over the place. And I don't care how well they make these things, you're not going to get it off the floor. So be careful about that because it is a stain. It really is. It's actually a dye, not a paint. So that's one way to take and to green stuff up. Another way to green stuff up, and this is really kind of fun too, this right here I call my hanging, I've already forgot what I call it. Whatever it is, it's really cool. What we're doing is that we're calling them actually floating herbs. Now this floating herbs is really kind of neat because what we're going to do is that we're going to have herbs that are literally floating in these little sections. This right here is a trellis, cost around 19 bucks for it. You could put it anywhere in the garden, making sure and certain that you have plenty of and ample sunshine for it. If you wanted to, you could put this in a container and then you could actually bring it in the house. And then you could put it by your table, for instance. This is only temporary, right? Bring it inside the house, and if anybody wanted herbs off of it, they could take the herbs, use them for their dinner, or whatever the case may be, their lunch, breakfast. You could host a party. You know, it's really kind of a fun thing. You can make this yourself. If you want to do this, this is nothing more than 1x1 wood that's here, that's stapled and screwed together. And what we're going to do is that we're going to start off with, I have these decorative little containers here. I believe we got these over at those stores that, you know, everything, it just costs $1. And what we're going to do is, they're herbs, so you have to have drainage. That's why we don't want to necessarily leave it in the house forever. We want to take it and leave it just for a short period of time. And then when we go water it and take care of it, we take care of it outside, be a little bit better, put it in a patio area that gets the very least morning sun. So we're going to take a drill and we're going to drill through the top of this. Let's see if I can do this right here. And just like that, we've got ourselves a hole inside of the container. This is important for our drainage, okay? Now what we're going to do is that we're going to get our plants. And we have all types of different plants here. We have basil and we have thyme. We've got cilantro. Here's a little bit of mint. So we're going to take our mint here. And this particular one, you can buy these in smaller sized containers, or you can use them in this size right here. It's all up to you how you want to do that. I like this because it has this biopot on here, and you just take this off, and it's really kind of saving a lot of stuff here, saving the world. Let's cut this off. Don't worry about cutting into this container. It's not the end of the world if you do that. I'm going to take this. A lot of information on this label here. And we're going to take and peel this top layer off here. This is just a little lip on here. It could stay, it could not stay, it's up to you. You know, the thing about gardening is that even though it can be very scientific, it doesn't have to be. Have fun with it. It's really kind of fun. Oh, this right here, we're going to take this and we can put it in our compost pile, or we could throw it right back into our soil. It's going to break down and become a part of the soil. You can see these roots right here and how they're kind of curling. If you want to, you could kind of pull a couple of them off. We could leave them alone. This is America. We could do whatever we want, right? Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to get our container. We're going to see if this fits. This right here, we're going to take and just bloop, plop it right in. How simple was that? You see that? Look, we'll just do that again. That was so fun. We're going to take this and just plop it right in just like this. It's ready to go. So our container is perfect for our potted plant. Now what we want to do is we're going to have to hang this thing. And instead of hanging it with a noose, we're going to take and hang it with one of these little zipperoony things. Okay? So let's do this one right here first. Now you could take and you could put it as low as you want. You could have it right here. You could put it as high. I'm just going to go high and cinch it right up. Put this in. And then the rest is history. That is awesome! Okay, so we're going to take and cut this on the back here. And 1, 2, 3. Hey, it didn't fall down. So we just keep on repeating this process as we go along. And you can see how it's going to all come together. And can you tell why I call it my floating herbs? Because it looks like they're just floating right in the sky like this. Herbs are one of these really multifaceted types of plants. There's all kinds of different types. This mint right here, sometimes if you were to take this mint and you were to put it in the ground, it can get out of hand. You have to be very careful with it. And getting out of hand meaning that it will grow and grow and grow. And if you have it in a planter bed under great conditions, then you'll know yourself that it's actually, it's good, it's growing. Now see how this is starting to come together? You don't have to do much of anything. Let's put the cilantro in here. Who doesn't like cilantro? You know, I actually discovered this stuff by mistake around 10 years ago. Love it to no end. Ah, it smells so good. And you know, you just eat it and everything else. Put in all kinds of culinary purposes. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but a lot of plants, they come with these little sticks. And these sticks are really important because there's information on there. And if you look at the information, it'll actually tell you what's on there. And if you're hip to the barcodes and all that, you take and you scan that, boom, goes right on your phone, you're rocking and rolling. Okay, you can leave it inside if you want. You get another one of these. And look how this is all coming together. Now, can you imagine when this thing is just blasted with plants? All right, where did it go? I had more of them here. When this thing is blasted with plants, it is so cool. And you know, if you don't have all the plants, don't worry about it. You don't have to have all the plants. You can take and you could do this just like this. It makes a statement. Or if you wanted to go in a diagonal, go all straight, boom, 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 whatever, it just doesn't matter. But there you have it. They're floating, they're in the air. You get your water, you water these things, and then you can just watch them grow. Are they going to stay there forever? No, they're not going to stay there forever. They'll stay there for a short period of time. In fact, you know, when you go to the nursery, when you go to the market nowadays, especially the farmer's market, you're buying herbs at $3.50, $4 a pop in smaller containers than this. Do this trick on them, and then they're going to stay with you for a really long period of time. Now, the other thing that stays with us for a long period of time are the calluses and the sweat and the things. So we have to stop and smell the roses, don't we? So important to do that. And when things wind down, I like to come to my little resting area over here, and I am without a doubt excited to show you something that we typically don't do. In fact, I'm gonna do something that you're never gonna see me ever do. We're actually gonna kill a couple of plants right now. Why? Well, it's all in the sake, or for the sake of the plant itself. And this is really kind of fun. All of our plants have roots. And we have to understand that those roots are essential for so many different things. If they're not in their proper growing environment, if they're not being coddled, if they're not being taken care of, there's a problem. Let me give you an example over here. Here we have a hibiscus. Now, this hibiscus plant is in a container. You can grow it in a container, you can grow it in the ground, it really doesn't matter. And what happens sometimes is that when a plant dries out too much, it exposes the roots. And on the roots, there are what they call root hairs. And those root hairs protect the root. Now, if those root hairs dry out, it exposes the root itself. And if these roots are exposed, the plant gets set back anywhere from 2 weeks up to 6 weeks, sometimes longer, before it's ever able to repair itself. That's why it's very important to understand that normally when we take and we work with our plants, that we don't want our soil to really dry out. It's the worst thing to happen to most of our plants. Some of them can tolerate that, but most can't, because you don't want to damage those root hairs. Now, what we're going to do over here is that we're going to pull this out of the container. I have not done this before, so we're going to see what happens here. Oh, look at this. We've got something that's pretty well established. Look at these roots. Isn't this great? Look how this big one's coming out over here on the side. All right, now let's just knock all this off here. Now, technically speaking, this was in the ground, one of the things that we concern ourselves with is the feeding zone of the roots. If you were to draw an imaginary line, this is especially true for these plants as well as trees. This right here, the very furthest point out, if you draw an imaginary line going straight down, you have what is called the root zone where the plants feed themselves. We also call them feeder roots, not to be confused with Federoffs. That's actually Federoff. Okay, not to be good, but those feeder roots are extremely important, and we have to understand that that's the point where you get a lot of your nutrients for the plant. It's from that point that's coming out like this. So if this was in the ground and this root was out here, well, from this point out, that's what's happening. That's where you're getting your nutrition from here out. So if you were to do this to any kind of plant, there's 99.9% chance that this thing is going to die on you, okay? So we don't want to do that. But we want to see what's going on with this. I'll tell you what, let me work on this, and while I'm working on this, let's take one of your calls right now. We have a caller on the line.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. What's your gardening question today?
I wanted to know how to get rid of gophers. They're eating up my vegetables.
Oh no! Gophers are nasty little burgers, aren't they? Honest to God, this actually happened to me one time. I was in San Pedro on a landscape consultation, and it was at a bank, and this bank manager lived in San Pedro their whole life and said that there's no such thing as gophers in their landscape. And just like a cartoon, what happened, there was a gazania plant, and it was moving backwards and forwards right in front of our eyes, and then all of a sudden, it disappeared. Just like that. I couldn't make that up. I thought Bugs Bunny was going to be popping out of the ground right there. Yeah, gophers are pretty nasty. There's a lot of different ways of controlling them and getting rid of them. Don't ever waste your money on anything that what they call these bombs, these smoke bombs. They take them, they light them, it puts sulfur inside the soil. Not a good thing. Cats, if you have cats in the yard, even sometimes feral cats, they'll munch down on those things. That's like caviar to them. Otherwise, you're kind of limited to something called a Maccabee trap, and that Maccabee trap is a wire trap. If you don't know how to set it yourself, what's going to happen is that you're going to skewer yourself, and you're going to end up becoming shish kebab. So you got to be really careful about doing that. So, and when you're using the Maccabee trap, by the way, it's a wire trap. You have to make sure that you rust it first. You take it and take some sandpaper, scuff it up, dunk it in some water, and then put a string around it, and then on the end of the string put a steak, like a T-bone or a filet, no filet mignon, because a filet mignon doesn't have a bone in it. Just use a regular wooden steak then, okay? You take the steak and then you let it rust. Once this thing rusts out on you, then you take garlic and you rub garlic all over your hands, and then once you have that garlic smell in your hands, you touch the trap and you work with the trap, because the garlic takes off all human sense and sometimes a little common sense, because you might end up poking yourself with the trap. You set the trap, you put it in the hole. If you don't catch that gopher in that hole within 2 hours, guess what? You're not going to catch the gopher that day. That doesn't mean you pull out the trap. That just means you're not going to catch it that day. Okay, let's go to another caller. We have somebody on the line?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go to
I have a small lawn area that I'm planting, and sprinklers just won't work for me. I've been reading a lot about drip irrigation. What's your opinion on that?
Wow, for a lawn area. Well,
Yes.
for a lawn area, we typically don't use drip irrigation. However, there is some really neat cutting edge technology that's coming out to where there's what we call subterranean irrigation. And that subterranean irrigation is kind of like a drip line. The only problem is that the technology isn't there yet to where it's 100% just marvelous as all can be. There's little problems with it, with roots getting into the emitters of the drip or the subterranean irrigation. But keep yourself close to our website, and we'll keep you posted on that kind of stuff. All right, check this out. Out of that 1 gallon site, you see this number 1 container? Look what we did over here. We opened this all up. You look at the roots, they're beautiful. There's no nodules on here. These are almost like tap roots, by the way. Look how far this is going down. It's a beautiful thing. You could tell that there's just a lot of great activity. We could wash it a little bit more. And this is a very healthy root system. Very soon they're going to take this and they would pot it up to say like a 5-gallon size container. And when you get it up into a number 5, I should say, here's a number 5 container. Look at this. Look at all the hairs on here. Look at this. See all the difference? Look at all the hairs. Okay, there's a lot of hair on here and it's just a beautiful thing. Let's see if these are even washed off. Oh, look at that. These roots are great. You want to have what they call a rich, well-draining soil so that these roots are able to grab onto those soil particles. They're able to enjoy what's going on with the soil itself. And I'll tell you, when you have a plant that has a great root system like these, you're going to have a happy gardening experience.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Super Thrive, the original vitamin solution. 50 vitamins and nutrients. Vitamins for trees, plants, and lawns. More information at superthrive.com.
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
With continued support from Cole Tomato Cages, planting, growing, and harvesting. More information at colemetals.com. And by the Radisson Hotel Whittier, with newly renovated rooms and an on-site bistro restaurant. More information at radisson.com. And by the State Farm Youth Advisory Board, supporting school-based, youth-led service learning projects.